What's up, Cabbage Crew? It is Matt and John talking about Avatar the Last Airbender Netflix episode 4, Into the Dark, I believe it was what it's called.
Yep.
Which was the second part of this kind of mini two-parter of being in Omashu. Just a recap of what we talked about last time. I think both of us were pretty positive about overall. Well, you gave it a negative score, but it was one of your better scores so far. And last episode to me was, although they changed a lot around, it definitely was the most entertaining of the 3 episodes so far. So let's get into this episode. I'm going to put it as lightly as possible. This is maybe the worst episode of television I've ever watched in my life. We'll say that lightly. I should say this. I think that was from the forget how they changed a bunch of stuff. From the Cave of Two Lovers to how Badger moles communicate and work to everything about Boomy. It was just it went because episode 3 was getting there. It was like, okay, the writing's a little bit better. Starting to like these characters a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Starting to like some of the themes that they're throwing at us. And I know you enjoyed episode 2. I mean, this was just, it went backwards.
I did not enjoy episode 2.
You did not enjoy episode 2, but you liked it more than I did.
Yes.
I mean, what are your quick thoughts before we just break down scene by scene? Because I mean, what are your quick thoughts of this episode before I just have a meltdown?
It was very bad, and I don't know about worst television in history. It probably is top 10 least favorite of all time. I did not like anything to do with the plot of this episode.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I did appreciate that your fear was extinguished, like about Boomy and Aang being
a little
friends.
Too quick.
They were friends.
A little too quick.
Yeah. So that was good. But that seemed like the only redeemable quality about that episode.
Well, it's funny when people talk about Game of Thrones. They're like, the first couple seasons are really good, and the last couple are not. Why? Well, because the first couple, that the creator of Game of Thrones, I forgot his name, but
G.R.R. Martin.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Game of Thrones guy, so
neither am I.
I'm just comparing the two. They say the reason why the last 1 or 2 seasons failed is because he has not yet written the books. So they had to kind of adapt to their own story. And now I'm starting to kind of get an idea of, because of how they're making this 8 episodes, they are now adapting and making their own story. Like everything they did with Zuko and Iroh in this episode very much is new. They did a lot of new stuff when it came to Aang going to prison. Yeah.
No, I'm thinking like, there was some new stuff with Zuko and Iroh, but there was some similar. They were combined again.
Well, for instance, Iroh and Aang were in prison together.
Okay, that's new.
You know what I mean? Like some of that's what I kind of mean. Not like Zuko saving Iroh, because that happens.
Okay.
But like, but so like, even last episode, one of the things we kind of were like about was Zuko and Iroh popping up in Omashu. Like it seems like a lot of the newer things they're doing, and as they're getting more deep into the story, it's almost like now they're just taking things from the show and implementing it into the story they've created.
Right.
This is just a completely different show now. Like episode 4, I don't even know what it's about, but like, or 5, I mean, but like at this point, I'm like, I don't know where we're even going, because they've already taken. I mean, like I think after Omashu and it was like imprisoned in Omashu. I think it jumps the jet, or maybe I don't remember exactly. Kind of forgot.
It wouldn't be imprisoned. You're talking about
I'm saying in the Nickelodeon, in the anime, they do Omashu and imprisoned, and I think it's the Spirit World stuff. So like maybe they're going to do the Spirit World next, but it's just like we have a completely different story.
We do.
So let's just, I guess, again, elephant in the room type of situation. I wrote down a lot of other stuff, but let's just talk straight up about the big elephant in the room, Boomy.
Not good.
I mean that character is completely different now.
Yep.
Even from the flashback Aang had of Boomy, I'm like, what was the point of that? Like, I mean, like, I get it, I get why, because you're connecting it, but like, it just happened at such a because in the anime, he talks about how the slides, using the way that the delivery system is, using it as a way of like a slide. And he's like, my friend Boomy told me how to do that because he used to do it when he used to mess around here. And then there was a flashback. This was just like a flashback, and then like Aang just sitting in prison. And it's like, even if at the beginning of the first episode, not the first episode, the third episode, when they arrived at the Omashu, he talks about Boomy and talks about the slides, and there's that flashback. Right. And then they made that scene. You're like, okay, cool. He's just remembering his friend that he already introduced to the audience. But it just came out of left field. And then Boomy just straight up says, like, it's Aang, it's Avatar. I'm your friend Boomy. Remember me? I'm a dick now, though. Like, I'm gonna try to kill you. It's like, what? Yeah, so what's your thoughts about Boomy?
They just did him wrong. I mean, that was our fear before the show came out, was how they were going to ruin the character of Boomy, and like it.
Well, it's one thing to ruin a character because they don't adapt well. Like, I was like, oh, it looks like they're not adapting Boomy well, because Boomy's kind of a goofier character. He is just very like, very like over the top character.
Right.
That I thought could be translated poorly. This was not Boomy. Like, this was you know what I mean? Like, they just made Boomy a different character.
So I actually wrote this down in my notes. Boomy was the fisherman in the storm.
Yes.
That's who he was in this episode, and I wanted to just rip it to shreds. Like, I just really wanted to rip my notes to shreds, because it's like, why? What was the point here?
They almost already kind of did that in 2 episodes ago, where it was like that the Kyoshi mother, and I was okay with that, because I was like, okay, you have this character, I forgot her name, but Suki's mother, who was kind of against having Aang there, because she looks at Aang as a bad thing, and by the end of the episode, she's like, you know what, you are hope, and now we look at you as a good thing. And they just kind of redid that here. It's like, does every Earth King... We already know Ba Sing Se is not about an Aang. So it's like, does every Earth Kingdom location just also hate the Avatar?
Right.
Which should not be the situation.
It almost seems like it seems like they're making the Earth Kingdom just as bad as the Fire Nation.
Right. We're like, in the anime, Kyoshi embraced Aang. They were like, oh my God, they loved Aang. I mean, that whole like meme with a guy like foaming to the mouth, like, they loved Aang. And then he goes to Omashu, and he doesn't know if they're bad or good, but it all ends up being a trick, because, oh, you know what, you're my friend, I'm just testing you. Right. It's like, okay, cool, I'm okay with that. And they did it in a fun and lighthearted way. And really the only kingdom that, like, quote unquote, was against, I mean, there are, again, the people like the fishermen, who are just not political, like, not kingdoms and, governments, you could say. It's just people that just lost hope because the Avatar disappeared. So they look at Aang as a kind of a negative thing. Right. The only like stronghold government location that was against the Avatar was Ba Sing Se. And that was because of them not wanting their people to know about Ba Sing Se.
Well, I would disagree in the sense that I don't think they weren't initially against the Avatar, against Aang. They were like, they
and that's how yeah. I wouldn't even say there. It was more Long Feng and the Dai Li that were just trying to get Aang out of there because they wanted to keep everything under wraps.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. Yes, I agree. Yes. So I mean, like you said, you made a great point. It's like, it's almost like the Earth Kingdom is just as bad as the Fire Nation. It's just bad for a different reason. Like,
here's the thing that the anime cartoon did is they displayed each, except the water tribe, really, but they displayed that all nations, depending on what region you are, can be bad too. I mean, the Dai Li was supposed to be the bad guys of the Earth Kingdom. They showed that. You didn't need to have Boomy to be a bad guy here. Or even like even though I think the Earthbender who captured Iroh and transported him away, I actually thought that was a decent new thing to do. Just because what?
What?
What's your question? You have, I think, of a question.
Sorry, Earthbender that transported Appa away. You talking about
Iroh?
Oh, yes, and we'll get to that. Yeah. I thought that was good. I thought that was good.
Yep.
Yeah, and every good guys, bad guys, there's always that gray area, and that's what makes characters great. Like, not everyone is always super bad. Obviously they want to make the Fire Nation as bad as possible. We get it. Avatar, the anime, does a great job at showing that when they go to much like how when Zuko comes to the Earth Kingdom and realizes, wow, these people aren't that bad. They're actually like kind of like great people. And he goes to Fire Nation and he realizes, wow, like not everyone's evil here. Like there's kids that are nice. Like there are Fire Nation villages that are actually suffering just like Earth Kingdom villages, like the fisherman town and stuff like that. So it's like there are actually, the Swords Master, they're actually really good people in the Fire Nation that are just kind of a part of this war, unfortunately.
Right.
And but having Boomy turn bad, going back to your point, like there are already these holders of Earth Kingdom characters that are bad. Either if it's the Sandbenders, who are more of these rogue, they've kind of trying to think of the word here, but they've kind of just taken themselves out of the idea of being part of government.
They're isolated.
Yeah. Then obviously Ba Sing Se, and there's a couple other ones too, but Boomy's not supposed to be that.
No.
And Mashu is not supposed. They made Mashu into this like almost like this rogue town that like has no rules.
It's true.
You know what I mean? And with a king that's disconnected, and with
kind of like a public city in a way.
Right. And I'm trying to think of what like what it kind of reminds me of, but just blanking here. But like it's just
Gotham City.
Yes. Yeah. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gotham City. I thought you said Republic City. I was like,
no, I mean, I said it Republic City at first, and then
Yeah, 100%. It reminds me of Gotham City, where it's like you have these like political figures that don't give a crap. You have these rogue spies. You have these people that are doing bad things to the community because they're trying to do the good thing. It's like it was nothing like that. And if you're going to do that in season 2 with Ba Sing Se, where we can start seeing the dark side of the Earth Kingdom more. Not I'll have to edit that out. That's disconnected.
Yeah, you can.
They just want peace, and they just want farming, and it's like they're more about like
you cut out again, Matt.
I still see myself. But the Earth Kingdom is just more about peace and more about, at least in this era of Avatar the Last Airbender. Obviously, it wasn't in the past, and it isn't in the future in Korra. But like,
right.
When I think of Earth Kingdom, I think of a bunch of different political factions and smaller villages. And so far, if I'm watching this show, I'm like, Earth Kingdom ain't a great. Like Earth Kingdom, they all seem like they're like assholes too.
Yeah, because Earth Kingdom is supposed to be just survivors, survivalists.
Yeah.
And they do not display that well here.
No. So let's just jump into the episode itself. We talked about it a little bit last time. I do really like how they did this. We talked about it. Jet is doing the wrong, trying to do the right thing, but doing it in the wrong way. and so is the Mechanist, right?
Mhm.
He's trying to do the right thing, but for the right way. I had a feeling he was like doing this for the spies so they wouldn't burn down the city.
Right.
And that's why they haven't yet. I kind of put that together while we were talking in our last podcast. I kept saying, like, why aren't they just setting this place on fire? But no, okay, the Mechanist. And I'm fine with them explaining that in this episode. Prove myself wrong on that. And so I'm okay with, to be truly honest, I am okay how they handled the Mechanist and Jet in this episode together, being parallels, and then having Sokka choose one side, Katara choosing the other, and then coming together and saying, you know what, we looked at each other's person kind of wrong. I'm okay with how they did that, and it was a good way to introduce those characters and those themes and the brother sister dynamic and relationship. So I'm okay with that. How do you see those two relationships coming together and with Jet and what was his name, Tay or Teo or something?
Who, the Mechanist?
What was his name again?
Sai.
Sai.
No, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I know that's just, putting it simply, but I just didn't like the Katara like freezing Jet scene. Like, it was so weak, and I just saw weakness there.
What do you mean by weakness?
There was no passion behind it, like in
As in the acting.
But yes, like the acting,
The scene itself is just not good.
The scene itself is not good.
Yeah.
Where like you get obviously in Jet in the cartoon of Avatar, like you get Katara like angry and frustrated at Jet when she freezes him, like, and water bends at him to a tree. When she finds out that Jet's using her and like gonna destroy that Earth Kingdom village.
I mean, real quick, that is why we don't feel that connection, because of what I said last time. She doesn't use him, or he doesn't use her. I'm sorry, he's not using her. Right. So, and they're only together for like 4 minutes of screen time. Like when they go in that little forest, they're barely together. So you don't get that. You don't. The audience is not feeling what Katara is feeling, because you're like, dude, you were with this guy for 8 minutes, and he never used you in a way that you felt like you were betrayed. He's just this guy that you met, and then he's doing everything for the wrong reason. You're like, okay, but it doesn't personally affect Katara.
Right.
And there needed to be something, either, again, if it was something along the lines of having her, like, I mean, to be honest, they should have just made it so he was trying to flood the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, look, whoever, you know what I mean? Like, hey, we're going to flood the city. This place is corrupt. This place has a king that doesn't care about his people. This place has 40 Fire Nation spies. Maybe this place is just better off being done, because it is what everything is wrong about the Earth Kingdom. But it is also, and that could have just went into the theme of Boomy's a bad guy, then he turns good. Like that could have maybe made Omashu into a better place going into season 2. And it's just, there was no connection of like, why is Katara angry at this boy who's trying to do all the wrong things for the right reason? He's doing all the wrong things for the right reasons. And then so also the audience were like, okay, there's nothing there. The CGI looked horrible for the freezing ice. It took me out of it. I was like, this looks horrible. And I was already emotionally not invested. I already didn't care. The acting wasn't great in that scene. The writing wasn't good in that scene. I mean, that was a bad scene in a bad episode. I would have said show, but I wasn't gonna say show. But so far the show has not been great.
So I have a question for you now.
Yes.
What is your the whole cave scene with Katara and Sokka and the nomads?
Yes, we'll jump.
And before we jump into that, can you pause? Mm-hmm. Like that whole sequence.
Yeah. So to jump ahead a little bit, let's talk about that. For the most part, that's where we're at anyway. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The best part of that episode, 100%, were the I forgot what they're called, but the singers, the guys that were, what are they called again? What are they called? The
Nomads.
Nomads. They just call the Nomads.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the best part. I mean, they did a good job. That was a fun little sequence. I was okay with it because I'm like, hey, look, if this is like, they're not nomads traveling anywhere. Before they were traveling to Omashu, I believe, or I think maybe Ba Sing Se. This time they're just guys hanging out in the cave. I think they were just in the cave. I guess they lived there, and they said that the harmony was better. I was okay with it. I was okay with that. Everything else about the cave, hated. I get what they were trying to do. I really do. Two siblings fighting. It's the Cave of Two Lovers. It's about love. At the end, they made up and they held hands, showing they loved each other still, and they're always together, and they're always going to be in it. Their brother and sister always in it till the end. I get that concept. That was an interesting way of spinning the Cave of Two Lovers.
Right.
Also interesting in how I just noticed this, but they have yet, which actually is going to really piss me off. They have yet to introduce the concept. I just noticed this after halfway through the series. They have yet to introduce the concept at all about Aang having a crush on Katara.
Oh yeah. That's why I don't like. That's why I don't like it.
They're gonna make Zuko and Katara together.
That's the hot
100%, 100%, because they know the fans.
Katara.
The fans wanted it, and instead of sticking to their guns and being like, "We're gonna go with the story," they're gonna do what the fans want. Same thing with Kyoshi. Right, they're like, instead of sticking to our guns and doing what the story did, we're gonna make Kyoshi what Roku's.
I actually agree with you because, like, they treat Aang like a little kid, not just a kid. They treat him like a little kid.
They have not,
shown
at all. They have not. They didn't plant any seeds of him waking up and looking at Katara and being like, like they did in the show. They didn't plant any seeds of her kissing him on the cheek after rescuing her and him blushing. They haven't shown any scenes of anything. What we have gotten has been about 3 or 4 Zuko versus Katara moments.
Mm-hmm.
So
that
would be so bad if they do that. Because I've always liked their relationship as Katara is the sister that Zuko never had, kind of thing. And it's like, I always remember that scene where like he's sitting there like anxious about seeing his uncle again on the finale, and she comes up and just kind of like warms him and talks to him, and it's like that is such a like sisterly like I'm here for you scene. Mm-hmm. And Katara's perfect because Katara's like the mother of the group, right. And Zuko's never had that before, and that was the first time, and that was literally the episode, 2 episodes after, but that was right after she started actually looking at Zuko as like, I like this person, not just a member of the group helping out because of Aang, right. And so she was there for him, and it really helped. And that was like a great moment. I really hope they don't make them two love interests. But anyway, going off. Oh my gosh, going off to where I was before. I think that it was an interesting way into doing the Cave of Two Lovers. Did not like the fact that the mole senses feelings, and is not blind. Well, it is blind, but it doesn't do it through earthbending because that introduces the idea of badger moles being earthbenders, right. And seeing through earthbending, and that's why Toph is able to do it because she learns from the badger moles. Mm-hmm. What do you think about all of that? I give it back to you. I hated it all.
No, I did not like it. I mean, I didn't like the whole cave scene either. Multiple scenes. I just didn't like it. I mean, because it was an important moment for Aang and Katara's relationship. It just was, and they let it be Sokka and Katara, and it just left a sour taste in my mouth because it's like, where's the originality here? And I didn't get any sense of that.
Yeah, all the original stuff, like I said before, all the original new things that they're throwing in is just not. There has not been one thing where I'm like, that's besides the jet parallel with the mechanist. Like, there's not been one new thing that they've done where I've been like, you know what, that was a good change.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one smaller one which we'll talk about in a few minutes, but that was less of story, and that's just more like a moment between two characters.
Right. And when the head nomad guy, I forget his name, but he was explaining the story of Oma and Shu, mm-hmm. and there was no passion behind it, like in like the cartoon where like when Totaro was talking about it
Mm-hmm.
in the original.
Well, there was no passion because of how the
It was
nomad
just
talked.
sad. Like she talked like in a melancholy type of way, not for obvious reasons.
Right, because
And
that's the nomad talking. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's the nomad talking, and it's just like he's just saying words, and there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing behind it. There just wasn't, and not to say that there was like a lot behind in the original either, but it was at least something. It was a little bit of something.
Yeah, I didn't really mind. I mean, they told the story of the two lovers, and he explained it them too. I didn't hate that scene. I mean that was actually not that bad in my opinion. Like I understand what you're saying. Like when Katara talks about it to when Katara is reading it to Aang, it's like, okay, take the two lovers. There's almost like not parallel, but kind of in the same realm, where it's like you have these two people who like each other, and they aren't really together. Well, at least as of right now, they're not together because of a war. I mean, they met through the war, but you know what I mean? Like, there's a
Right.
kind of a parallel slash, like, okay, I can understand why this is an interesting thing with Katara explaining it to Aang, but like, that scene didn't. I walked away with that. I'll say this: I cringed almost at the end of every scene. Like
Yep.
I think I turned off the TV,
Yep.
like not TV, but like paused it like 5 or 6 times. That was not one of the scenes. Like after
Yep.
that scene, I was like, okay, cool, let's get back to Aang and Boomy. I guess you know, like that was okay.
Yeah.
And the nomads were, in my opinion, were not cheesy. It worked. That part, that
They
little
sing
sequence,
well.
that
They
was
sing
good. They
well.
sung well. They sung the original song at the end
Mhm.
of it. I was like, okay, I was happy with that scene. So Iroh gets captured and he's with Aang. This is before the Boomy stuff. He's with Aang, and there's again a little bit of talking between them. I don't like anything that has to do with Aang and Iroh because they briefly in the original. Now I hate to bring the original up because I know this is not the original, but in the original, you don't have any sense of what Iroh is when it comes to his loyalty to the Fire Nation. You know he's
Right.
loyal. No, he's on this. You know he. It's like, okay, he's the older brother, but he doesn't have the throne. I don't know why. But they've given you too much. Like at this point, you're like, Iroh's not even a bad guy. Like and you don't really have that sense in Avatar until midway through season 2, and you're like, there's something more to Iroh to
Right.
unpack here. And so it's like if you were to ask me, like, if I've never seen this show before, and you're like, is Iroh a good guy or a bad guy? You'd be like, he's Fire Nation, but he seems like a good guy.
Right.
And I've always got, at least when I watched the show, I always had the sense of like Iroh's still a bad guy in season 1 while I was watching it for the first time.
Mhm.
But I was like, but he's comic relief for Zuko because Zuko's always angry. And if it was just Zuko by himself, you'd be like, here's back to the angry boy.
Right.
Where Iroh made, and then by season 2, he becomes the angel on Zuko's shoulder. So I mean, do you like that change of Aang and him talking? And do you like what they're doing with Iroh? Because I don't like what they're doing with Iroh.
No, I don't. I did like the one piece of dialogue from that scene between Aang and Iroh, where I have it in my notes. He says that Aang says like I'm starting to understand what Zuko really is, and like Iroh.
I hated that. I
You
wrote
did?
that down. I wrote that down. It said Aang bad dialogue.
No,
I
it was
really-
bad dialogue. It was bad dialogue, but the way that Iroh responded, in implying about Lieutenant,
Mhm.
was good.
See, I actually thought he was going to explain to Aang why he got burned, and that was going to be the same scene you see, because he was like, "There's more to him than you know," and he's explaining to Aang, which would be I wouldn't hate. I hated that line. Looks like there's more to him. What does he say?
No, what I mean
Looks like that's what type of person he is, and the scene ends. I was like, ugh.
Well, what I mean by the Lieutenant comparison is what I mean because I equaled that to when like I know we keep bringing up the original show, but in terms of comparison, the Siege of the North, part 1, was it part 1? where it's Zuko and Iroh, and he's like, I only nagged you because ever since I lost my son, and then he winces a little bit because
Yeah,
and
those are subtle things that Avatar, again, kind of like sprinkling things. Like, you don't know anything about, at least to my knowledge, you don't know that Iroh lost his son until
until then, correct?
That moment.
Yes, I'm just saying that I got the sense of Iroh is implying that he sees Zuko as his son too in this scene with Aang. Like there's more in the sense of there's more to him than like he said something about repaying. Like I owe it to I owe him.
Yeah,
that's the quote that I liked. Is like I owe Zuko more than Zuko owes me.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I just didn't like it. I mean, I can understand that line. They did the flashback of the funeral, and they
That was so bad.
So bad. I mean, so they had the leaves from the vine background in the background, and I was like, they're fucking ruining this. Like, you Ted, he gave me this because he wanted. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, that could have even been a great scene where like you could have done something with the knife, the iconic cutting knife.
Mm-hmm.
He could have done like something along the lines of like they could have changed it up a little bit, but he could have said something along the lines of like Iroh could have went up to Zuko and been like, "Look, this was his knife. I want to give it to you."
I was literally thinking,
and that would have been a great moment. And then in season 2, it would have came back, But like just this little weird metal. I was scared in school, whatever the hell he said. I was like, I paused it. I was like, I need a minute for this. I was like, I need to go get another piece of paper. These are all the bad things I wrote down in the episode. I mean, it was just that happened, and the acting wasn't good.
No,
I mean I'm not gonna lie. Even Iroh, the guy that plays Iroh, like none of that acting has been. Yeah, all the acting. Iroh, I know a lot of people liked the casting, and we still have to see more from him. But like, I'm not feeling the Iroh Zuko. That relationship is just not there for me, and that backstory, the flashback, both the flashbacks have not been good flashbacks, and like
I felt in episode 1 about their relationship,
and even at the end of the episode, to jump ahead when he's like, he's talking to him, and he's like, he's basically he just got burnt and all that stuff, and he's about to leave, and he says something along the lines of like, you're all I need or whatever. Like that would have been great. I didn't love the dialogue. I mean, it's just. Even if it was, which is not great dialogue either, but I was actually I thought he was going to say something along the lines of like, home is where family is. That's why I'm going with you. And that would have been like, oh, well, he doesn't look at the other ones as family. Like he looks at Zuko as his family. And it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say I could write better, but holy shit, I think I can write better. The writing in this show has been horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, like episode 1, it was bad, but only for explaining reasons. It felt like it was only bad when Graham was explaining something, or it was like episode 2 was better, but not as good. It was more hit or miss. Episode 3, I was like, okay, getting a little bit better. It's not perfect, but getting better. Mm-hmm. I mean, the writing in this episode was garbage. I mean, I wrote down multiple times, like just trash, like bad, bad. Like every scene, like jet fight, yuck. Jet fight, yuck. I wrote down like just Boomy changes, horrible. I literally wrote down. I'm not going to lie. I wrote down. This is what I wrote down. Wait. I can't wait. I literally looked at my clock and it was like 14 minutes left, and I was like, cannot wait until it's over. Like, it was so bad. Singers were good. The explaining was good. Like there's certain things that worked.
Like 15 minutes of that episode was good.
Maybe. So I mean, we've talked about a little bit of everything besides the big thing, which is the tests and the fight between Aang and, I mean, it's just everything. Like you could tell they were trying to play homage with certain things where he was like, let's throw him a feast. And it was like, why are you saying that now? He already knows you're his old friend. like, what do you mean? Like, you guys should be hugging.
Yeah.
Even if it again, I'm not trying to rewrite this, but it'd be one thing if they were like old friends hug, and then they're having a conversation, and he's like, "Boomy, you're not the same person." Right. It wasn't even that way. It was like, "You're my friend. You're Aang. Go to jail." And it was like, what?
Yep.
It was just, I don't know, man. Everything about it. It was just, the acting was bad with Boomy. Didn't like that character. I mean, I walked out of this episode being like, I hate Boomy. Like, that was just a horrible. Even him turning good all of a sudden, it was like, that came out of left field.
Yeah.
The tests were horrible. There was no tests. I mean, it was really just him getting him broken rocks.
Right. Did you like the? Well, I'm gonna revert back after I.
Go ahead. I've been going all over the place.
After I asked this question, but did you like, or did you not mind at least Boomy asking the question about, I got another challenge for you? Because it was the opposite from the cartoon where Aang says, "Hey, I have a challenge for you," and Boomy's.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I was blacked out, man. I mean, I was like, I was so done with the episode. I mean, to be honest, that doesn't even make sense because in the original episode, in the anime, from what I remember, his friend Boomy was the one that came up with the idea of being like, let's make these slides. Yep. So when it came back and they did it together again, it was like, awesome. Why would it make sense now? Like, okay, the Boomy, this king who has been trying to kill this Aang all episode, now they're sliding. They never even talked about doing the slides before. So like, it just all didn't make. I mean, I think the first time me and you sat down and talked, I said, the one thing that I really hope does not happen is that by halfway through, by the end of the season, it's already halfway through, and I already feel this way. But by the end of the season, I feel like the directors don't actually understand this story, and that's happening already. Like, it's just like there's certain things where they're not getting certain stuff. It's like they watched it one time and their kid told them about it or something, and now they're like, we're gonna do it because Asian culture, right? and it's like, and they don't. It's like watching a comic book movie, and you're like, whoever made this movie has never read a comic from this character. They don't get the character. You know what I mean? And it's like, whoever made this. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think the Avatar live action series developers got the crew from DC. I think they got the crew from DC.
Because at least with Marvel, even Marvel, the last like 2 or 3 years, which has not been great, you can still say like they understand these characters, their concepts. They still get it. It's just they're not making the better movies.
But anyway.
No. I mean, but that comes into this. It's like it from the other episode with Kyoshi, but very much with this, I just feel like the creators don't understand what they're doing. They don't get the story. I don't even think they've seen season 2 yet. Because they've already done things in season 2 where we're like, what they're doing right now is not going to make sense unless they completely alter season 2 in certain ways. It's just, it's just like not great. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know why Jet's going to be in Ba Sing Se. like 4, they were all refugees. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like it's so bad. Poorly written. It doesn't seem like we
haven't even seen how Zuko getting starred yet.
No, yes, we're in episode 5, and we are over halfway through the series or the season. We don't even know why we haven't seen that yet, which sucks because I think we learn about it pretty early in like episode 8. And again, it's like halfway through, but it's just like you feel like. When the series first starts, the first 2 or 3 episodes, you're like, this is kind of an asshole-y character. But then he becomes the better of 2 evils.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so by halfway through, he's the better of 2 evils. But then you start feeling sorry for him. You know why he got banished. Then he teams up with Aang to save him. And you're like, kind of liking this anti-hero
Right.
better of two evils. And so by the end of the first season, he talks about his sister. So like we're going into season 2, and we're like kind of like this guy Zuko. Like there's no sense. I feel like the only reason you would like Zuko at this point is because you know he's Zuko and you know what happens. And it's like now let's you know what I mean? So let's talk about the Iroh prisoner scene. Go ahead. You go ahead and talk about that.
No, I mean I thought that was, in my opinion, it was the best part of the episode. Because it was a little bit more realistic, I think, and what that kind of the scene would have been compared to the cartoon, where like you find General Iroh and you capture him, even though they didn't capture him like the same as in the cartoon, but they got him and they were transporting him away. Like how they would have probably treated him made sense. Treat him pretty harshly, like reminding him of what he did in Bossing Say, and like relating it like personally, where like I had a brother who like died and very young during that siege, and it was much more realistic, emotionally realistic. There's a lot of similarities between when Zuko shows up and saves Iroh. There's a lot of similar, maneuvers with like Iroh in the chain, taking out the feet, and Zuko being angry and firebending at the Earthbenders. The one thing that, and I actually wanted to ask you this because it's related to the scene. When Iroh gets hurt, okay, and Zuko takes the wood or the ground dirt chip out of his back.
Yeah.
Do you think that's an excuse for having Azula not injure him later with lightning?
It's funny. I was thinking about that. I was like, I wonder if they're gonna jump ahead to season 2 when he's injured, and then eventually teaches him how to direct lightning, which would be so out of place.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point.
I know, because it's like at this point he hasn't seen Azula direct lightning, or we haven't as an audience. He hasn't demonstrated he can even do it at this point. Right. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. Again, I have no idea where the story's going at this point, because that's just like.
Am I too out of left field to think that, or am I like
no, you're not. You're not. I mean, it wouldn't make sense, but we both know that this show's not making sense. Like, there's certain things where it's just like this doesn't make sense right now. So, I mean, they made the Cave of Two Lovers like a way to get to the palace, which is odd. And it's just there's a lot of different things that they did. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, or I could see an episode where maybe that next episode is him just injured, so they're talking, and that's how he maybe explains his backstory. I don't know where they're gonna go with the injury thing. Kind of weird. It was really weird.
Can you pause it real quick?
Yeah. Oh. So I think we pretty much have covered everything, from everything we did not like about Boomy. We didn't see Azula or Zhao in this episode.
I wouldn't be surprised if Azula doesn't even show up anymore.
Yeah, no, we'll see what happens down the line. We talked about the battle. We've pretty much hit everything. So, I mean, do you have anything else to add before we do our final not predictions, but our final scores?
I was just gonna say, where do you see the show going from here? Where do you see episode 5?
I don't know what episode 5 is called.
Spirited Away.
So I'm assuming. I still think. So maybe next episode, because Iroh's injured, they can't travel as well, so they hire June. And while they're doing that, Aang is dealing with the whole Heibai situation. And then I think the episode after that's called Masks. So that's where maybe the Azula
slash Zhao situation will happen when they backstab him and they catch Aang, and then Zuko's like, you know what, screw this, and then he gets the blue spirit mask. And then I think the last 2 episodes are the North and the Legends or something. So,
Good prediction.
I mean that's my prediction. It just stinks because they're skipping so much. I mean, like, we're gonna see essentially one more town, and then we're gonna basically be in the North.
Yeah, it's rushed. It's rushed.
It's rushed. Yeah, even not just a show, just scenes are rushed. Like we talked about with Jed. Everything's rushed. I mean, the Cave of Two Lovers was rushed. I mean, even the Boomy. I mean, we haven't barely even talked about that. The Boomy and Aang stuff. It's like they're literally walking down a hallway. Then he like puts him in this little weird room with the crystals all coming up, and he gets out of it. And then he's like, "All right, let's fight now. Fight to the death." And it's like, what? He's like, you like to play games and stuff. It's like, what? Like, I mean, they could have easily just made it. Aang shows up and he's like, I want to put you through some tests because I like effing with people, you know. And then he gets the test. You start to see new things that Aang can do. Okay, cool. Maybe you see Aang, I don't know, do something he hasn't done on show yet, which is waterbend, because he's supposed to know how to waterbend by now.
Mm-hmm.
Like him and Katara learned together. So he hasn't done that at all. But it's just like, it was just so oddly done. Like that whole sequence was just, we barely talked about it because I just don't even know what to say. Besides, it was just so oddly done. Everything was bad. From the whole, like, drop the rock on me. I was like, what am I watching? You know, it's just like,
you cheater! You cheater!
Yeah, you cheater! Yeah, drop it on me. One of us has to die here. It's like, no, he doesn't. Like, he's an airbender. Why can't he just throw him away?
Right.
Like, I just, everything was just bad about that whole sequence. I cannot understand how. This is just me ranting at this point. I can understand how those fans of this show that are like, this show is great. Like, this show is amazing. Like, there have been so many people that are like, this show is so good. I'm like,
what are you watching? What are you watching?
What are you watching? Oh man. All right. Well,
did you like the concept though? I know you're about to wrap things up, so but I'm putting you on notice.
Go ahead.
Like Boomy did say something which obviously like similar to the cartoon about like, you know, the Avatar, you weren't here for 100 years, like you need to realize how grave of a situation this is. So did you like how even though they didn't do it the right way, do you like the concept of him having him being Aang going through like instances or situations that were dangerous so that he can understand a little bit at least what he's up against in the world?
Yeah, they just did such. I mean, that is kind of somewhat of the point of what Boomies does. You know, he gives him these tests, and he's like, sometimes you're gonna have to think differently. You're gonna have to think like an evil genius. That's all that, you know, like, and the greatest thing is Aang does. When he beats Iroh, he thinks differently. Or when he beats Ozai,
everybody.
Yeah, at this point you never know. When he beats Ozai, he does think differently. He thinks outside the box, and he's like, I don't want to kill him. How do I beat him? And so it all kind of comes back. You know, and he has those 3 challenges where he has to, you know, get a key a different way than he was thinking, and then you know, the second one being him getting chased by what's the animal's name that's chasing him?
What are you talking about? The Shirshu?
No, in the second challenge.
Oh, Flopsy.
Like Flopsy's chasing him, you know, and then fighting again, choosing to choose who he fights, and then he fights the king, not knowing. So it's like all these different. They just don't do anything like that in this episode, and that's what makes that episode fun, because Aang learns a lesson, but it's in a fun way, and it makes kind of sense, and that's why they made Boomy so weird, because it's like, okay, it makes sense to his character. Everything you just see, you're like, it's like, again, it's like the creators just watched the show one time, and they're like, you know what?
We understand.
We get it. Like that whole thing was done bad. So let's go ahead and do our final scores.
Yep.
I mean, I put you on the top. Boomy evil ? like there's just so
cahoots with Firelord Ozai.
I can do this podcast for like 24 hours straight. Go ahead and give overall thoughts, rating of this episode. It's 1 through 5. If you don't know,
so 0.75 out of 5. 0.75.
Yeah. Okay. 0 to 5. Yeah, you can go under a 1.
Yeah, under a 1.
Yeah, I'm about there with you. I would say 0. I would say 0.75. I would say it's under a 1. In my opinion, the only redeeming quality was a 4-minute little sequence. There's two redeeming qualities. A little 4-minute sequence with these nomads singing and showing the story. I didn't mind any of that.
Right.
And then the dialogue that went for maybe 2 minutes between Iroh and that soldier.
Yeah.
That is the only. And maybe my cabbages at the end of the episode.
That was good too.
I mean, there was no redeeming qualities of this episode. Like I said, it was one of the worst episodes of television that I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, let's hope our viewers don't think this is the worst episode that they see in our podcast. I
would even say this podcast episode was probably better. I mean,
well, tell us below. Do you prefer this episode or the Avatar live action episode that we just reviewed? Comment below.
Yeah. Yeah, I might be done with this whole podcast. I think I'm done.
Don't worry, we're not done. But
oh my god, what just happened? What just happened? All right.
Yeah.
Comment below.
Cabbage Truth, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.